Scrotum!
Alright, well.
Alright.
Okay, we just finished watching Caligula, but before we go into it, I'll give you a brief history.
I'm a history buff. Alright. So, Caligula, it was made in 1979, and it attempts to depict the life and reign of the fourth emperor of the Roman Empire. And this is a mouthful. His name is Gaius Julius Caesar Augustus Germanicus, otherwise known as Caligula, which means soldier's little boot in Latin. For people who don't know who Caligula is, he is regarded as probably the most craziest and most insane Roman emperor there ever was. He's most known for fucking his sister repeatedly and having a relationship with her. Let's see, there's some other things I learned. To humiliate the Roman Senate, the men of the Roman Senate, he decided to, attend their weddings or their parties they would have, and he would order their wives to a back room where he would rape them and the senators themselves in the ass. And on the economic side, he always threw these extravagant events that drained the empire's budget and caused famines throughout the empire, which again causes dissent. So that's a little brief history of Caligula, and let's go to his assassination. In 41 AD, 4 years into his reign, there was a conspiracy within the Praetorian Guard, which was the unit that guarded the Roman Emperor. They decided to kill him, his wife, and his
his daughter.
4-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
They ambushed them. He was stabbed to death. So was his wife, and they all stabbed to death his 4-year-old daughter. That's just great.
We'll go into the movie, how the movie did it at the end of this. So let's go into the movie. So
this is a treat.
So let's see.
This is a treat.
It started off basically he is roaming around with his sister. First you see him running around with some woman that ends up being his sister. They're in the Roman stuff.
She is hot, by the way.
Naked underneath the robes, obviously.
There is a lot of naked shit in this movie.
A lot of naked. Basically, this movie was probably, I'm going to get a brief thing.
A multi-million-dollar porn.
It was, $17.5 million. And it was made in 1979. That's when it was released.
So much titty. So much titty.
It was basically the most expensive porno ever. Was it good porn? I mean,
yes.
It wasn't the worst
yes.
porn. But remember, it's also 79, so that means all the hairy glory. So if you're into that, like the old horror movies and the shower scenes that are all hairy glory, have at it. And it is free on YouTube. That's what
it is free on YouTube. I wish I could share it in the video, but I can't. But it's free on YouTube if you're
just type
somehow
in
curious to do that fucked
and
up.
yell full Caligula movie, and you can watch the whole thing.
Now we have an excuse because we have a YouTube channel.
Yep, we have an excuse for watching it.
Fuck you.
So,
now describe the next scene.
All right, so the next scene is basically he's they're running around naked, and basically they're doing their thing like a couple would, but they're brother and sister, so a lot of incest. And then it goes into basically we're gonna run through some scenes. His grandfather calls him.
Well, his grandfather is Emperor Tiberius, and to put it lightly, he's like the equivalent of Joseph Stalin. But he calls him to the island called Capri. Pretty much, I would say he's grooming him to become emperor because he's already the crown prince. So, I'll describe all this.
Well, I'll just say this one thing. He is, at the end of this, very sickly and old and crazy, like most emperors are at the end or...
Yeah, he's already dying. So, let's describe his little villa. I'm going to have fun describing this. So, he finds the emperor. He's swimming in a pool with what he calls his little fishies.
And they're all naked men, women, it doesn't...
Naked men, women, and children.
And then around the circle, around the pool, it has women breastfeeding babies. Don't ask me why.
I don't know. I don't know why.
It doesn't go into
it. Get used to it, people.
Nothing happens to the babies, we promise. Nothing happens to them.
Get used to it. This is the whole movie. Okay.
He is basically... lost it, and in the beginning of it, he goes into this like sex thunder. We thought it was only Caligula when we first initially thought it. So no, his grandfather is some sex crazy guy too. So you see a bunch of scenes of people just doing random sex acts, stuff you've never seen before, and people with disformed faces, and it's just fucked.
It's fucked.
You think that's fucked? When he tortures people, it's sex also as well, but it's like really bad.
Okay, let me describe this one gruesome scene in the dungeon. So there's a guard off duty. Well, he's on duty, I should say, and he's drunk. So to punish him, Tiberius orders him to be restrained. They castrate his dick. Well, they cast.
First, they give him they take a bunch and just chug him, basically giving him
They
alcohol poisoning.
They get a huge bottle. They fill it up full with like wine. They dump it into his mouth.
Like we're talking about like
this
fucking big, yeah, very fucking huge.
Then they castrate him, and then Tiberius comes back and stabs him to death.
Stabs him, and it pours out all the alcohol that was in his system, all of it, because it was more alcohol than blood. So you know that's how much they fucking pumped his stomach full of alcohol. And so yeah, basically that.
So they go around this dungeon, and it's just a bunch of deformed people like performing acts, people having sex, and it's in full detail.
Some of them are just naked. Some guys also juggling like giant dildos, but it's like plaster bullshit, or I don't know, just not actual plastic shit. Like
it's in full detail.
It's
full
just
detail.
Throughout this whole movie, there are constantly fake dicks around, like consistently, and even like it's so fucking bad. It is terrible. The whole scene is sex.
Okay, so after seeing this, Caligula is obviously traumatized, but he's also kind of fascinated. So he talks to his friend Macro, who was the head of the Praetorian Guard at the time. And they formulate some kind of conspiracy, and they end up killing Tiberius while he's sleeping. They smother him.
Well, because he's already sick, and he was dying anyway, so to speed up he might live, the doc said he might live like a year, if that were the emperor's physician, whatever, said he might live a year at most. And instead, he's going to kill him, and he's just like, you can't, and then the guy, the head of that guard, Macro, stops him because he obviously can't, and then just takes the guy's, which is actual fact, takes some of his bed clothing and smothers him. So that's what they have. In fact, most movies are not 100% accurate. This part is accurate.
So, as soon as Tiberius is dead and he breathed his last breath, Caligula, or Gaius Julius Caesar, is effectively Emperor of Rome.
But everyone calls him Caligula. That's just what he goes by, his nickname.
His nickname, but his real name is Gaius Julius Caesar Augustus. So, and we're not gonna call him that because it's fucking boring and a mouthful.
And it's Caligula.
It's Caligula. So he is crowned Emperor of Rome, and this is where things get really fun.
See, you think he's already a little crazy because when he rapes a couple, that's before he gets sick.
Well, in actual history, and they actually explore this a little bit in the movie, he actually was a sensation to the people of Rome because Tiberius, like I said, was like Stalin. He was a tyrant. So he starts off by reversing all the policies of Tiberius, general amnesty of all political prisoners, public works programs, all this shit. But he's still crazy inside the palace because they're like, what does he do? He still loves his sister and still gives her the...
Yeah, he says, I'm going to marry my sister. And she's like, no, you're going to marry somebody else. I have a bunch of the maids or whoever's coming over. And he goes to pick one. He's like, no, you don't want her. She's a virgin. Later, he fucks with her because she's marrying somebody else as a soldier. And he picks him out because of his sister, I think. That's my theory on it.
He rapes her pretty much, makes her pussy bleed.
Yeah, on their wedding night, he basically forces his dick in her, and then he takes his ring because they have that, the Roman king ring or whatever, emperor ring. Yeah. And he's just like, oh, you're a virgin too, and
he slices her.
Yeah, that's it. But then he's like, she was a virgin after seeing the blood because she was like.
Then he takes he takes her husband.
The groom who's also
and he fucking shoves his fist up his ass.
Well, actually, he's bent over, like he's on the table, knees, and he's just like, he puts some cream on there, like cream.
No cream.
And he put cream on them.
Oh, it was cream?
He put cream on his butthole. And he just takes the ring and says, I am Emperor of Rome, and just shoves his whole fist with the ring on into the guy's asshole. And at the end, they're just like letting each other just, and they live through this.
I don't know how, but he has hemorrhoids up the ass.
Yeah. So later, this guy is killed in a thing. It's
very slowly. He's sliced up, and he dies too quickly. And Caligula complains to his guards, "You fucking idiots! I wanted him killed slowly." And speaking of that, in real history, Caligula, restarted Tiberius's his predecessors' killing quotas. So his preferred way of torture was slowly killing his political rivals and having their family and their kids watch, and he forced them to cheer, like, yeah, as their family member is getting slowly killed, or else he would kill them too. Just a little side note. There's so much shit to talk about because
Longinus.
Oh yes, our favorite character. He's like a tall, bald guy with like a fucking
He's like
a JJ on his head.
He's like not really, just some weird headdress.
But his name is Longinus.
And it's funny because he calls Longinus so often.
Yeah, he's his personal assistant.
He's his personal assistant or advisor, what the fuck ever. And so basically, Longinus. The first time you heard this name, you're bursting out laughing because it's a fucking ridiculous
Longinus.
name. So now you're gonna hear for the rest of this me just say Longinus.
Longinus.
Because he calls him Longinus like several times for the fucking.
How can we not laugh?
Because we've seen it. Because after watching this movie, so you know when you hear something that's funny and you hear it a million times, it's not funny anymore. So we hear it a million times, and throughout all this shit, let's go back to Caligula. Caligula eventually does choose a wife, and she ends up being the most promiscuous, basically a whore-ish woman out of all the women that was in that thing. They're all bathing in that thing, and they have a lesbian orgy. So you know that. I mean, there's a lot of lesbians.
There was a lot of orgies in this movie.
Lesbian,
in full detail.
And random one, and we are Romans were known for their orgies. So this kind of makes it, but 10 times more so.
All right, so speaking of Macro, the guy helped him seize power. I guess what was his reason of killing him?
He saw that he was going crazy anyway, so he also was friends with Caligula.
Yeah, he was friends with Caligula, and I think his sister, her name is Julia Drusilla, kind of warned him.
I say that was his wife.
It was his sister, though.
Are you talking about Caligula's sister?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He warned that Macro might be plotting against him, so he ordered the death of Macro in the special machine they made in the courtyard. What was it?
I don't even know.
It was like a slicing machine.
It's a big red wall thing that goes, and the slicing thing's under it, and they have them buried with their head sticking out.
Head sticking out of the ground, and
they're throwing like eggs at them and all kinds of just shit.
It's like a lawnmower type thing, and
it just cuts their heads off, and you can see that, and it was
in full detail.
For 1979, it was pretty good.
But let's get to our favorite scene. Or we both. I'm not gonna say that.
That's at the end. You mean at the very end? That's at the end.
Yeah.
We'll get through that. So basically, this whole shit. He slowly gets more insane because he's already insane. He just.
What really takes it in is when he gets sick.
Yeah, when he gets sick
or poisoned
or whatever, and he gets sick, and he's just slowly getting more and more
insane. Then his sister dies. So that really sets
after the birth of his child with the woman he married.
Oh yeah, the childbirth scene.
Yeah, and the sister is slightly jealous of this, even though it was his idea, because originally he would have just married her right off the bat. And he makes a whole it looks like when you first see the scene, you think it's like some play he's setting up. No, it's the birth of his child, and you can see the head popping out of the woman's
little pussy. Yeah, pretty much.
Put it lightly. And he says, "Oh, it's my son," and really, it's his daughter.
It's his daughter, which under Roman law, you can't have an empress. So
and then his sister's like, "Don't worry, you have other children."
Then she randomly falls ill, and then she dies.
Probably from when he was getting sick, she was all over him. So, and with
probably
the way this seems, it looks like they didn't really care about health, even though Romans were known for having, because they had their own, I think it was sewage system or whatever.
The aqueducts.
Yeah, the aqueducts, which really helped. We're not that big on Roman history too much. But
I'm more of a person in like the 20th century, but I know a little bit about Roman history.
Anywho, and speaking of Greek, one thing that really pissed me off was they kept mixing up Greek and Roman mythology, and I think some of
this guy's a pagan, so he's pissed off.
The point is, they mixed up, and I was already a Greek mythology head guy already, and he keeps bringing up Iris, the goddess Iris. You see her. That's the Greek goddess of the rainbow, which is also Hera's messenger. Hermes is the Greek messenger, but he's more Zeus's, and Iris is Hera's, and so he mixes them up, and so it really pissed me off because that's what I get pissy with stuff like that, even with the movie Hercules, which is wrong. Which is the Disney version, which is completely wrong. But the point is, that really ticked me off. That's just one little thing I want to say. And if you really don't like porn, this movie's not for you.
It's pretty much a porno.
Not for you.
We legit, I'll admit it right now, we just watched a multi-million-dollar porno. So in full detail.
So if you really Really, if you really want to get the best porn, this is the porn to get. And actually, it's
For
so
free on
really,
YouTube.
Yeah, when it was on theaters, we were surprised it was in theaters.
Yeah, how the fuck was
But
this
then
being released?
But then again, this was 1979.
Still.
The rules weren't as strict back then. Now we have a lot more stricter rules. Actually, nowadays, PG-13 movies are more violent than rated R movies because rated R movies are rated against. They get a rated R rating if they show a little sexy scene. And there's so many evidence of that, and there's many videos that go into that. If you would like to, they're off somewhere else.
All right, so let's get to our favorite scene. In a way to humiliate, Caligula always wanted to improve the power of the emperor, but there was always checks and balances because of the Roman Senate. So in the way to humiliate the Roman senators, he got all of their wives, put them on this huge makeshift boat in his palace, where they proceeded to have an orgy.
And you had to pay to get in, like 5 gold pieces or whatever.
But they show every single detail.
We believe they hired porn stars.
I read it up. They hired porn stars.
It was full blown blowjobs, fucking like
it was full
see
on.
it. You could not fake this.
Like there's one lady going full into it,
like full blown going into it. So you actually get to see this. That's sort of the end. So if you
literally, it's a fucking orgy. It's real. It's all real.
It's all real. All the sex scenes for the
most
part.
You people think we're probably insane because we're two dudes who just watched a porno together, but literally. We do this for you.
It's not advertised as a porno, but it's essentially a porn.
Okay.
So yeah. So basically, and at the end, let's go to the death scene, I suppose.
Well, so two things to say. Caligula was also prone to having a lot of panic attacks, outbursts, and killing people at random. Just like, and I remember they didn't go into this in the movie, but there was a time where there was a banquet, and he started. Have you guys seen the movie Joker? The recent one where he just burst out laughing for no reason, like well, I guess there was a moment in the banquet where he started doing that. He started laughing, and the head of the Praetorian Guard asked him, "What are you laughing at, my master?" And he's like, "Oh, nothing. It's just the fact that I can order you. I can't even speak. I can order all of your throats cut right now, and you wouldn't have any say in it."
Which is also one of the reasons why he eventually was in on the assassination.
Yeah. So let's get to the assassination scene. So
this is very different than what actually happened, but it's
similar.
It's very similar.
So they're walking in a courtyard, he and his wife and his kid, and they're going up the stairs.
He sees the guards up there, and he runs up to them.
He runs up like this, like,
and then they say password.
He's like,
scrotum. That's why we said in the beginning.
And then
he said, "So be it," and they all
gets stabbed to death.
He
by the head of the Praetorian Guard.
The head of the Praetorian Guard. His wife gets all distraught, like, what the fuck? And then he stand up. He basically stabs her.
Like
basically.
That. Then they get his kid and they
look at the kid.
her head in.
They basically take the body and slam it on the stairs.
They slam her, the poor 4-year-old girl.
What actually happened is they stabbed him to death, like we said in the beginning.
They hunted them down and stabbed him to death.
Essentially, and at the end, once they slashed him down, he was like, he died with a smile on his face. He had a bunch of the guards come in with giant spears and go stab.
But the entire time, he was saying, "I live," with a smile on his face.
Because he believes he's a god.
Yeah, I forgot that scene. So, we're backtracking here. So, he goes to the Roman Senate, runs up the stairs, and he's like, I can't remember what he said. It was, I am a man, but I'm also this and that. I may have been born Gaius Julius Caesar Germanicus Augustus, but I'm also a god.
He is a god. He's saying, I'm not taking this form of this guy, but I am a god.
I may have taken the form of Gaius Caligula, but I am whatever he said. But I am a god.
A god. And
a god.
Basically, this guy is the height of his insanity.
He's pretty much at the height of his insanity.
And this is all a disease. And I feel like a lot of the Roman emperors get this disease.
Not all. It was said he had schizophrenia.
It was a bunch of shit. He was already losing it. And he got traumatized as a young person. He died at the age of 28.
Yeah, he was only 28, by the way. Only 28.
So imagine that. If you're 27 right now, I guess you're gonna die tomorrow. No, I'm kidding. But no.
And you're gonna fuck your sister.
Apparently. So yeah, and it's not uncommon for royal families to have intercourse with family members.
But it's just fucked up.
This goes further than that.
You actually see scenes where they fuck and he's sucking on her titties. It's bad. It's bad.
So yeah, and that's pretty much all we have to say about it.
And the ending credits is just his dead face going like this.
He's
And-
upside down on the stairs.
And he's bleeding, there's blood
Blood
dripping,
everywhere.
and trying to emphasize a tyrant is dead. But
Pretty much.
they crown a guy named Claudius, who's his uncle, but he's portrayed in the movie as a fucking idiot. But in reality, he wasn't.
Yeah,
And
Caligula pretty much pushes him aside, says he's nothing, and he just luckily he survives because he just kills people random. You'd think he'd be killed too, but no, he sees him as too much, not even a threat.
So they crown Claudius emperor, and he actually, according to history, becomes one of the best emperors in Roman history. I don't know much about him because that's not my preferred time period of history, but I guess he becomes one of the greatest emperors the Roman Empire is ever going to have. So that is Caligula, and it's free on YouTube, and just I'm going to emphasize again, so much titty, so much dick in the movie. And it's all real, by the way. It's all real. I did some research. It's all real.
The sex scenes, not anything.
We literally just watched a porno together. That might sound embarrassing. Guys might think we're crazy, but we legit just watched a multi-million-dollar porno released in theaters where people went and paid to see.
Hopefully, no kids were in that theater.
There probably was.
Yeah,
You never know. I don't want to get that thought in my head.
Always
But
are.
we do this for you guys. We're inspired by Midnight Screenings, The Nostalgia Critic, and You Read a Game Nerd.
We also do take suggestions. At the end of videos, we'd like to say what we're going to watch next, but honestly, we don't know at this point. We do have some suggestions here and there, so if you do have any, please say so in the comments. And we do advertise on Facebook, so if you see it, just put in the comments there too. Either one of us will see it.
Yeah. So,
until then,
any final words?
scrotum.
Scrotum!